what impressed me most about Reggie and his ideas were he didn't want to slant the needle one way or the other. He wanted to make a platform that created equal opportunity for everyone around the world through a decentralized platform. So I got involved in the platform, and I got to test the beta for the Veritasium platform. I got involved very early in some of the things that Reggie was doing, and he was very successful. The code was really eloquent, and it did exactly what he said it was going to do. So fast forward to 2019, I got a telephone call from Jorge Tenreiro's, and it was on my personal cell phone. And so I couldn't understand how, a prosecutor for the Securities and Exchange Commission got my cell phone, my personal cell phone, but I can only ascertain that he downloaded the email records between Reggie and myself and then got my personal cell phone number. So he called me up and I didn't answer, and I listened to his message, and he had quite a long message about what he was doing. He said he was in the initial stages of prosecuting or investigating Reggie Middleton and the Veritasium platform for securities fraud, for selling unregistered securities. So I decided to call him back. And when I called him back, he answered immediately. He gave me his personal line at the office, and we had about a 40-minute conversation. And I'm familiar. I'm an entrepreneur and a businessman. I've run several successful businesses, so I'm familiar with the way that prosecutors are supposed to go about their business. And they're really supposed to ask questions and not make statements. In other words, if you're a prosecutor and you have a suspicion that certain people are breaking the law, then you're supposed to ask questions of witnesses that lead to the conclusion that they are breaking the law. But Jorge took a very unusual stance, a very aggressive stance when he called me. There were several times during the conversation that he made very strong statements against Mr. Middleton.
Like, for example?
For example, there were several times during the conversation where he said, "You have been defrauded, and let me tell you why." And then he would go on and make the, case that I was defrauded. And so I got to the point where I just stopped him in his tracks on the defrauded thing. I said, "Listen, I'm not defrauded." I said, "First of all, I'm a businessman, and I signed a disclosure statement when I exchanged value for the Veritasium token, stating that I knew that they were utility tokens, which gave me access to the Veritasium platform." And I've been watching the way that things have been unfolding on the control grid that the government is putting up around us for quite some time now. I personally believe they're trying to control our food and our money and, where we're allowed to travel. And I am a libertarian at heart. And so I thirst for things that are freedom and sovereignty.
Yep.
And so Reggie Middleton's platform is actually one of the things that I think scares the powers that be the most. And the reason it scares them is because it allows the common people to rise up and have power that they don't have today. And so I think that that's the reason that they got so aggressive with the SEC and basically took him down. They succeeded in their effort. So Jorge and I had about a 40-minute conversation. I described why the Veritasium token was not a security, and I'm a layperson, so I really don't know the law that well. But I came to know the law pretty well in my efforts to defend Veritasium after the SEC took action against them. I was the one that spearheaded the beginning of the Veri DAO, which is a collective, loose collective of people who believe in Reggie Middleton and his platform. I was the one who spearheaded the no action letter. We hired Jeremy Hogan, who you may be familiar with, who did a lot of blogs on the XRP case against the SEC. And we filed for a no action letter against the SEC, pleading with them to tell us exactly what we held. because in the settlement with the SEC, the SEC did a very poor job of describing to the token holders what we held. So getting back to the conversation with Jorge, he tried to get me to become a witness for the SEC. Again, he at the very end of the conversation, he described the prosecution that they're going to unfold against Reggie. And he said that, again, he tried one more time. I think he tried 3 times to convince me that I'd been defrauded. And then he made a plea to me to be a witness for the SEC against Mr. Middleton. And I told him that I had no interest in being a witness against Mr. Middleton. I told him that I thought he was wasting taxpayer money and effort of a regulatory body going after somebody that was innocent of the charges that he was alleging.
And what did he say to you when you said that? What did he say?
Jorge was really aggressive, but I think he knew that he was beating his head against a brick wall. And so he really kind of tailed off at the end and said, okay, thank you for your time. He really didn't. He made one big last push during our phone call, and then it ended there.
Did they try to coerce others? And have you talked to them?
I've tried to find others that have talked to Jorge Tenreiro, but in my efforts, we have a Telegram channel with over 3,000 members, and I know a lot of the Veritasium token holders, and I relayed my story of my interaction with Jorge to them, and none of them had the same interaction. From my understanding, there were a couple of hundred people that the SEC had telephone numbers for, but I'm the only one that I know of that actually had a long conversation with them.
Perhaps I can assist. Sorry,
go ahead, yeah.
Interrupting. Perhaps I can assist there because of the fact that I've been doing the complaint and the dossier. I've had the opportunity of communicating with at least 2, probably 3 now, potential witnesses, one of whom is extremely afraid to come forward because of the intimidating and aggressive tactics that were used against him during the course of the SEC's investigations. So I haven't pressed him for an actual affidavit as such. There's a couple of others that may well be prepared to step forward, but I'm sure there's many others that are just too afraid to step forward and speak their minds.
Why are they so fearful? Why did the SEC make them so fearful that they are afraid to talk?
I can answer that question. There's an individual that I won't name, but there's an individual that was supporting Reggie in the Veri platform that he put out there early on when we were doing beta testing. And the SEC contacted him and threatened him and his family with loss of their assets and prosecution if he continued making videos. So
if he continued making videos, so basically they were censoring him, telling him to shut his mouth.
100% they were censoring him.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, we will destroy you. That's what the SEC
They basically
did.
threatened to destroy his life and his family's life. Yes.
And set the DOJ on him as well.
Wow. They must really want these patents, huh? So can somebody...
Like William said, Sarah, yeah. They are the most valuable, I would say, not just in DeFi, but in worldwide trade and finance. We're talking about TradeFi, DeFi, governments trading between one another. Reggie owns the most valuable property in the world.